The story of Harry Elliott is quite interesting. The whole idea of the ex-Chicago cop, and of course back then Chicago cops were, yeah, they had other jobs. And then the idea that he's somehow found himself in Malaysia, or Malaya, as the case may be back then. I think people are going to find this a really, really interesting story and a little bit of a history lesson at the same time.
Jay and I, we worked on commercials before. When we were toying the idea where, he would be in front of the camera. But to play this character, I think he was more than willing because it was a character that he really believed in. We both knew that only he could have just pulled it off. Only him, nobody else.
Harry Elliott, private eye.
I play Harry Elliott, the old Harry Elliott, private detective, former Chicago cop, who, for various reasons, wound up in Malaysia. The part kind of evolved out of a bit of my background history, because I used to, for 5 years, I was a cop.
If you want someone to make your cheating wife disappear, I'd suggest you hire a magician.
The story is almost natural to me.
I started doing research, proper historical research into Malaya because I had this idea of having American protagonist, a detective in Malaya in 1939. And I thought, that's a very nice angle to see what the country was like at World War II pre-dawn.
I think the characters are really what pulls off the whole film. Peter, he's great. I love what he's done with the script itself and also the way he's interpreted it. He loves the tiny little details within each shot, within each scene. I like the fact that he's directed it in such a way that it leaves a lot of things open to interpretation, but it says a lot of things in a very small amount of time. Brevity, I guess brevity is the key word here.
He's really fun to work with. And I really love the fact that it all comes from him. The story is written by him and he knows exactly what he wants and he's being very specific. And when I have a chance to have a look at the shots, it's gorgeous. I'm so looking forward to see the results.
I was thinking of who would be able to play Sarah McKinsley. And then I immediately thought of Alexia actually. And I wanted somebody who looked English and French at the same time. And she said, we'll just do this project and we'll just take it from there. I said, great. I am extremely happy with how everybody, brought their game to the project and just gave it 120%. It's a project where it requires teamwork. You need creative collaborators.
After the script reading, a lot of visuals that came out in my mind, what kind of things that looks good and suitable for the script. The difficulties that we face is actually to get the right location. We chose Wisma Ekran as our main location. First of all, of course, is the abandoned building. And there's a lot of things to set up, but the good thing is we are not disturbing anybody in the building. The building itself actually is built during the era. It's 1930s, so we wanted the look of the film to be quite contrasty and low-key as well. So we decided to paint some of the places quite dark in the mid-tone grey or towards the darker mid-tone. We try to find a way to minimize our setup, but we still want to get the shot that with a nice camera move that tell the stories.
Harry!
Lucy!
Actually, I find it extremely interesting because I'm from Chicago, so I can relate to the script, and everything is amazing how closely Peter has come to the Art Deco area in Chicago. So I was really impressed. The script is well written, it fits the era, and I definitely feel the kind of John Dillinger, Al Capone kind of theme going on. It really sets the mood and the tone for that era.
I really love the transition between my character and the older Harry Elliott. I think that Harry just wants to have fun. I don't think he thinks about too much what he does, but he's also very naive and hopeless romantic.
It was also really important for me to show the youthful energy that Will possessed and how Jay has lost some of it, in the film, and you kind of see that sort of beaten down by the whole chase.
Just getting into the era, 1920s is such a phenomenal sort of time to be in, and I think really getting into the music, the fashion, just getting really back into that era, seeing it in a way that Peter's vision sort of dictates. I think that's what's really challenging, but also awesome at the same time.
think you should pay me more for this.
He's in quite a desperate situation. He learns a severe lesson about life in Asia in the 1930s. He's in real need of some money, and he's thought of a really bad idea for getting it, which kind of leads him to places he shouldn't be. So I wouldn't describe him as a wise man. I describe him as quite a desperate man. My fellow actor, Alvin, was very good at portraying the sense of threat required to invest my character's reaction, fear, with truth.
We had a deal.
I'm one of the triad members in the year 1930s. My character is actually first generation Malaysian Chinese. In a way, my dad is an immigrant. He moved here, he migrated here, and I was born in Malaya. Especially excited to finally work with Sheldon. I was hoping for a little more screen time with him. It's really exciting. And this being a period piece, I think it's going to look very, very stylish. I mean, from what I've seen in the footages so far, it really keeps to the spirit of that era, music-wise, fashion-wise. I mean, the art direction, everything is just beautiful.
I'll take that. Nice and slow, pal. And that damn rabbit hole just kept getting deeper.
We did our ADR sound effects and a couple of original music compositions with Maveriq.
The key priority is dialogue. If that works, then everything else can kind of sit nicely with that. So we'll take the location sound, see what needs assessing. In this instance, it was ADR, so it's calling all the cues, marking them out, and making sure that when it's the line that's needed, we can just get to it immediately and on the spot. Most of the time, it's all Foleyed, which we record in the studio ourselves, you know, small actions and movements. Usually we'll watch the visual at the same time, try and act it out with those things to get the kind of feel of how it goes.
I worked with their sound designer, Lee Williams, absolutely great. He would come in with all these ideas, you know, we'll discuss at length about certain way we would treat audio.
I think one of the nicest things was Pete asked us to do ADR, but then when we were doing the ADR, there was one particular part where a guy was strapped into a chair, and for the visual, he was gagged. Because of the gag, he couldn't quite act it out properly. So at the end of it, we had to take a chopstick, and the chopstick wasn't good enough. So we took the chopstick out all soggy, and we kind of wrapped it up a bit more. Then we kind of got the perfect feel. Otherwise, it didn't quite have that interaction. That was probably the only thing that really stood out for me. That was quite a moment.
There are many layers in Malaya in 1939, so many layers. You know, in fact, you know, I'm just thinking, wow, you know, there's so many stories, so many angles that we should be looking into for films.
If I had to live in 1939 or so, I'd fit right in.
So it's up to the audience to figure out what's really my background, what's really Harry's background. It leaves also suspense for, well, we want more. What's going to happen then? Is this really going to be a love affair now, or?
This is the only way to keep us both alive, mon chéri.
Why?
Yes, the mystery part is really, it's nice. It's going to get people hooked.
Well, like I said, there are no happy endings. You know that saying, keep your friends close and your enemies closer? Wish I'd followed that advice. They tell me she's a ghost, to forget about her. And the damn rabbit hole just kept getting deeper. Harry Elliott, private eye. What? Sir, I'm a private detective. If you want someone to make your cheating wife disappear, I'd suggest you hire a magician.